Everybody, I'm Cantonese Cats. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Quick video on GameStop, just because I find it fascinating. I do not have any insider information. I'm purely based on price action and based on psychoanalysis to try to tell you what I think GameStop's going to happen. I personally do not really have that much of a stake in it. I'm not trying to pump, I'm not trying to dump, I really don't care. I'm just here to kind of show you what it does in terms of from a intellectual analysis type perspective. If you look at the inception of GameStop ever since 2002, you can see that so far for January 2021, it had formed a higher high, and for April of 2024, after this brutal 3 year downward of a descending wedge, we have clearly broke out of this wedge, and we are so far forming a higher low over here, and we're in the process of trying to see whether or not there's a possibility of forming a higher high. Now, even if we are to form a higher high, it won't go up in the straight line, and I'll tell you why that is, because these things take time, and there is a lot of extension of these kind of restrictions that needs to happen before price is able to go up further and form an all-time high and beyond. In order for something like that to happen, you have to take the time to expand the Bollinger Band, and you have to take the time to make sure that you have the appropriate support below before going up higher. A lot of people think that this was just a scam candle. It might be, but I don't think that the short-term bull trend is over yet. And there are a few reasons to why I think that. First of all, every single time when you have a potential trend change, the Bollinger Band comes with a 20-month moving average, and whenever you have a little bit of positive trend change, you see that the 20-month moving average will start to curl from downward to upwards, right? We're starting to have very much of a flattening of the 20-month moving average over here, and we might be experiencing a little bit of a longer-term trend change here, which is thing number one. Thing number two, this big giant green candle happened on big volume, and this means something. Generally when you have a big change like that, generally means something. And the price has also gotten above the 20-month moving average, and it's been staying very, very impulsively on the outside of the monthly Bollinger Band for a significant period of time in June. But you can't just have things just way overextend. You have to basically ride the upper Bollinger Band up, allowing it to kind of expand before you're really able to start developing a more sustainable bull trend, allowing price to go up higher over time. For example, last cycle, you have some very, very nice green candle over here, right? Got up back to the upper Bollinger Band when actually way outside the upper Bollinger Band, but it was just way too far, way too fast. You need to wait for Bollinger Band to expand before you can actually have eventually a big giant God candle over here for the month of January 2021. So far, I think we might be in the process of trying to stretch the Bollinger Band out before really trying to get up there. But we're just not quite there yet. I mean, Bollinger Band is going to continue to serve as a little bit of a resistance or a magnet for price until it expands. Right now, the upper Bollinger Band is 28.6. So it's going to take some time for it to kind of expand, maybe a few months or so, before really seeing what GameStop end up doing this cycle. Now, there's always a possibility that I'm wrong and it just goes down. Again, I don't have any insider information. I don't have a stake. I don't care. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. And I generally like to see this as cycle analysis. And I do think that this is a result of increased global liquidity and also increase in US M2 money supply that end up allowing additional liquidity to come and play meme stocks like GameStop. So this is kind of what I'm seeing here so far. The other thing, if you also want to look at cycle analysis, if you put the Ichimoku cloud, you can also see that these impulsive green candles over here had allowed the Tenkan line, which is the blue line over here, to turn from resistance over here to support, and also allowed the very bullish Tenkan Kijun cross to happen sometime around October or November 2020, which allowed prices to go up a lot higher. Right now, we also have a very similar look to this. We have enough green candle over here to really trying to link the Kijun and the Tenkan together. Had a little bit of a crossover here, so things are turning a little bit more bullish. We're underneath the cloud over here, which is going to continue to serve as resistance, but we might end up developing enough bullish energy to kind of push through the cloud and go up higher. It certainly seems like it's a possibility, right? Because you have a bullish cross over here, which actually suggests that there might be a little bit more of a bullish continuation moving forward. But it just hasn't happened yet because Bollinger Band hasn't really been expanded. But that's what I'm seeing here on the Ichimoku Cloud. Now on the Super Ichi Cloud, it's going to give you even a more clear picture in terms of what GameStop is doing. Super Ichi is Ichimoku Cloud taking the incorporation of the Super Trend, which is basically a indicator that incorporates volume together with it. And what you're going to seeing here is that it really got rejected on the cloud twice. The second time really almost right smack on top of the Super Ichi Cloud over here. So these levels generally, they mean something, right? Like they're really trying to push against the cloud, but because it's such a strong resistance, you just don't have enough energy to kind of push through yet. Especially if the upper Bollinger Band continues to serve as a magnet, right? So we're having a little bit of failure to launch so far, but it's working on it. It's kind of what I'm seeing. Now, a couple things too on the MCDX chart down here. The MCDX is telling you about the whales, what they're doing. Really, throughout the entire descending wedge over here, whales have been declining, but they never really left. And what happened is whenever they wake up, which they did for the month of June of 2024, you can see there's some increase in whale accumulation over here, right? So I think there's a little bit of a trend change that might have just started, which makes things very, very, very interesting for this entire movement over here. Maybe suggesting there might be some additional continuation. Now, in addition to all that, I also want to pull up the moving averages, and the blue line right there is the 50-month moving average. It looks like we're basically having these kind of moving averages kind of stack on top of one another. 50 is pointing up and serving as support so far for the month of June. It got over it. Initially, it got rejected, obviously, over here for the month of May. But for the month of June, it seems like it's so far maybe serving as potentially as a little bit of a support. Right now, the 50-month moving average is around 25.76. So that's kind of where we bounced off of so far. We'll see what happens. I do want to say that I did make a post yesterday, and again, not because I have any insider information, but I made a post yesterday when the price was just way far out, and but it was coming down, and as it was coming down yesterday, I really thought that it would probably going to find support around 26 to 27 range. And I'm going to tell you why I think that is. It's not because I have any kind of magic. All of this is really purely based on technical analysis. Now, first of all, before I even go into the 26 and 27 number, I'm going to show you some of the charts that Danny has provided me to look at for GME. I want to comment a little bit on that. Now, as you can see, this is a daily chart of GME. What you're seeing here is really over the last 4 or 5 weeks or so, there's a lot of really impulsive price action that has happened. And you can see that there is a significant number of whale presence on the daily that has fluctuated during this crazy move over here. Had happened about a few weeks ago. This has created a red ribbon here on the daily, and this red ribbon so far has served as support for the entire move up, right? Basically, this basically stretched the price action, created a red ribbon underneath of it to serve as support for price to potentially go up a lot higher. If you look over here, there's a sell signal over here when price has kind of dropped from this top over here going down to here. There's a sell signal over here, and there's also a big giant bar over here. This is around like $28. You would imagine it might potentially serve as support. No, it's just way too far, way too fast. Had to go back down, back to the red ribbon, had to find support of the red ribbon, and eventually did find support of the red ribbon, and you end up having a red candle over here just a few days ago. Really, like this is on Friday of last week. You have a red candle. Sure enough, this red candle has been playing out. So far, the red candle is still active, by the way. And price is still above this daily red candle, and the red ribbon is still expanding and is serving as support. Whereas it's serving as support is around the 26-27 range down here, right? Which is part of the reason why I think we're going to find support over here. Another reason why I think we're going to find support over here is this big giant volume shelf over here around 28. So I thought that it would probably end up waking below that a little bit, and eventually might find support around like the 27, 26 range, maybe even close at like 28. And sure enough, we closed Friday at around $28. And it makes sense because this is a big giant level here, which can potentially serve as resistance as it did, and it can serve as support. And it's just been kind of oscillating around that level. And it seems to be a pretty important level over here, right? On Friday we did end up having a pretty significant sell-off, so you end up going to have a decrease in whale, an increase in retail over here for Friday. But overall, the trend is still looking pretty decent. Now, if you zoom out here a little bit, oh, yeah, another thing I just want to say, like daily MACD cross, a little bit more bullish. Our side's not overbought or oversold, it's just somewhere in the middle. But if you zoom out here a little bit, you can see on the weekly chart, you also have a development of a red ribbon over here. The red ribbon is developed by this very, very impulsive move up over here that wicked all the way up just about 3 weeks ago. And because of that, you also see that on the weekly trend, there's really not a whole lot of retail left over here. And there's a lot of whale that has really been coming in over the last 6 weeks. This is a trend change. Before, you really have a big, giant downtrend. But here you have a very, very nice trend change over here in terms of whales going up and in terms of retail going down. And you also have had this, on panel 2, had this green bearish trend has gone on for forever. And you finally actually have this confirmed turning from green over here to red over here. So this over here has been a very, very nice trend change. And this over here has become a very, very strong and thickening red ribbon. Down here you have a bullish MACD cross on the weekly, and the RSI are also pointing the right way. Now, granted, the RSI looks like it's been overbought, but things like this can end up being overbought for a very long time. So we'll see. But the thing about what's going on over here is, again, another level is very important over here. The volume shelf is 28, right? You can also see that both on the daily and the weekly. And this seems like a very, very important level. I'm going to show you why I think that is in a sec in terms of finding support. Again, whales are still in, retails are still out. There is no reason to suspect that the trend's going to be over quite just yet. You did have a sell signal that happened about 2 weeks ago that has not played out so far. You don't have a buy signal quite just yet because I think price may have to continue to get over a certain level for the buy signal to get triggered again. But that just still hasn't happened quite just yet. Overall, because of the red ribbon, because of some of the support of the volume shelves, because this big giant green downtrend has actually reliably turned into a purple or red trend over here, because whales are in, because retails are not that significant anymore, because you have a weekly MACD cross, because all the RSI is stacking on top of one another, there is a good chance for some bullish continuation. Granted, price is way too far away from the red ribbon, right? So there's potential for price to keep pushing up a little bit more, but may go sideways, allowing the red ribbon to continue to expand for some further bullish trend that might end up continuing here. So that's one of the reasons as to why I think like around 26, 27, may be a very good support range, is to look at his chart. Another reason why I think that is if you look at the Sapiichi cloud on the actually, let me see. Yeah, if you look at the, not the Sapiichi cloud, but if you look at the Ichimoku cloud for the 2 week, you're going to see that 27 is a very important level because it's really the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud, which is around 26.65, between 26 and 27. What is really doing this 2 week period over here is really trying to push to outside the Ichimoku cloud on the 2 week chart, not able to break through, right? So what's the next logical area is going to find support is going to be at the bottom of the cloud, which is around 26.6. That's another reason why I think this is a confluent zone where I think it's important to look at. Another reason why I think it's important to look at that zone is just eyeballing it. You don't even have to have anything fancy. You can just look over here. There's a big horizontal support zone that has a lot of balances. You have basically a breakdown for this level, right? And once it's broken down, you try to get back above it a couple of times over here for like a whole entire 3-4 months. unable to get that. Got a little bit of a double bottom over here, trying to push against once, trying to push against twice again, unable to break through. That's when you have to break down, right? So far, we might be flipping this resistance zone over here from resistance to support, and we might just simply back testing it. I mean, granted, it can still break down. There's no guarantee that the support is going to hold, but it just seems like we're at an important horizontal level over here between 26 to 27. That gives me some confidence that we're probably going to be finding some support over here. And if you end up trying to look for entry, this might potentially be an entry, although this is not financially advised by any means. Okay? The couple other things I think this is an important zone would be if you look at the daily chart. And I generally don't look at a daily chart that much, but if you look at a daily chart, if you just pull up the 20-day moving average, and this is the Bollinger Band, which incorporates the 20-day moving average right there, right? And you can see that it's really just been sloping up, and it's been gravitating price to push price up higher. And right now, the 20-day moving average is at 27.07. That's another zone where I expected to potentially find some support. And if I also just zoom out to the monthly, I expect that before the Bollinger Band expands, I think price is gonna, if it's gonna turn to a bullish trend, it's probably gonna gravitate to the upper Bollinger Band. Upper Bollinger Band so far is at 28.6, so not that too far from 26 or 27. Again, 28.6 is where the upper Bollinger Band is, and that could potentially serve as a magnet before Bollinger Band expansion, before price goes up even higher. And then finally, on the weekly, you did initially have a little bit of a gap over here, and I thought that generally going back to around 26, 27 to where the gap was closed could also potentially serve as a support level as well. So there's a lot of reason why I think that 26, 27, or even 28 are very important levels in terms of it being a support. I don't think this bull trend has necessarily ended quite just yet. But if we end up falling underneath of that, there's still going to be plenty of support underneath. For example, the Super HG Cloud, the top of the cloud is going to be around 24, right? It's going to be around 24 point something, right? You're also going to have a lot of these kind of Tenkan and Kishin going to push above in the low 20s. It's also potentially even serve as support, allowing price to potentially form an even like a little bit of a higher low before going and challenging this wick over here. There are also other supports over here too. For example, the Bollinger Band on the weekly chart looks like it could potentially gravitate to the upper Bollinger Band here on the weekly, which is going to be around 24.5. That's another potential level where you're going to end up getting some support. So there's a lot of confluence of support over here. There's no reason to think that this whole thing is ending, because it looks like the whole bull trend might have just gotten started and whales might have just started to come in. Now, if you ask me what the price targets are, I did draw a chart here. I did try my best to come up with again. It looks like basically price has just been gravitating between these two arcs here for a very long time. And so far we've been rejected from the arc initially, and this chart was done, like really a couple of weeks ago. So right now price is around here, right around 28 or so. I do think that we do have to have enough energy to try to break above these arcs over here. And if we're able to break above these arcs over here, if this turns out to be something that actually would keep going, then you're talking about challenging this horizontal line over here around 90. You might challenge the arc on the way up and might get rejected along the line over here anytime around here. But if you're able to break above this horizontal line and a little bit more at this arc level over here, you're really talking about making a macro higher high. And if you're making a macro higher high, there's even another possibility for it to gravitate up towards these curves over here, or even gravitate up towards this horizontal line right here, which is around 500. I know it's kind of crazy in terms of market cap. I know it's kind of crazy in terms of like, this is GameStop. How far can it go? But I'm not saying that any of these has to be rational. I'm not saying that you have to have the amount of money to pump the stock up to a certain market cap. Market cap is kind of like a silly thing when it comes to meme stocks like GME. So there's a potential this cycle might end up going to 500. And it may not. Like, this might be over soon, and if there's none of this has to play out, right? So that's why I don't want to gamble. I do have 5 shares for fun. I just want to share my thoughts on GameStop for fun. I do not want you to think that this is financial advice or anything like that. I'm just talking. And if you're interested in some of the other analysis that I've done with the gang over here, I do have a new channel. It's called the Triumphs of TA, and the way to get to us is really we're called Mal and Men. If you go to my X, you'll see it. And we just recently did a podcast talking about GME and AMC. Mal and Man is gonna be our channel, so you want to check that out. Check out our podcast from Wednesday. We're going to try to do this on a Wednesday, on a regular. There's another channel that I would strongly recommend you to look at when it comes to GME, which is James Roland 17. He's been around for a few years. He's been around through the entire GME cycle, and he does a lot of really interesting charting that may interest you if you're interested in GME. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to my talk, and have a good one. Bye.